Have you ever believed that to be successful, you have to look rich? Expensive cars, big houses, designer clothes? Well, what I'm about to share might turn everything you've ever thought about money upside down. The Japanese, one of the most financially stable nations in the world, live completely the opposite way. They don't show off, they don't chase appearances. They've built what I call silent wealth, and it's this very approach that has created lasting wealth through generations. I used to live to impress others until one day a Japanese businessman completely changed the way I saw money. After that day, I knew I could never go back to the way I was before. If you really want to understand why the Japanese are able to build sustainable wealth without ever showing off, watch this video until the end. It might just be the turning point you've been looking for.
You might think success means showing off. Fancy cars, sprawling mansions, designer brands. The Japanese, one of the world's most financially stable nations, take the exact opposite approach. No flaunting, no chasing appearances. They build silent wealth, quietly accumulating and safeguarding assets across generations. I used to live to impress until I met a Japanese businessman who completely changed my view on money. Their secret is both simple and powerful. Want to learn how to create lasting prosperity without ever flaunting your wealth? Watch the video to the end.
Let's start with the first secret, a simple principle that will completely change the way you think about wealth. If you lost all your money tomorrow, how long would it take you to get back on your feet? Most people would think, without money, I'll be done for. But in Japan, there's an interesting mindset about wealth that goes beyond just the bank balance. It's such a powerful concept that even Warren Buffett admits he learned it from his Japanese friends. In America, we often measure wealth by material assets like houses, cars, investments, or expensive watches. But the Japanese focus on what they call intangible assets. These are things no one can take from you: your relationships, your reputation, and the knowledge you've accumulated. I met a Japanese entrepreneur who lost everything in the 2008 financial crisis. But in less than a month, he received 3 job offers and a slew of investors wanting to collaborate with him. Why? Because over the years, he had built something more valuable than money: trust and strong relationships. Interestingly, Harvard researchers have found that people who possess strong, intangible assets can recover financially twice as fast after a crisis. Think about it. How many people in your circle can help you find a new job instantly? How many would lend you money without hesitation? That's your real safety net. And do you know what's even more astonishing? While cars and houses lose value over time, your intangible assets only increase. Every new skill you learn, every relationship you build, every experience you accumulate grows more valuable with time. It's like an investment that never stops growing, and, importantly, no one can take it from you. Have you ever thought about building intangible assets for yourself? The next secret is the Kabo method. Have you ever looked at your bank account at the end of the month and wondered, where did all my money go? If so, you're not alone. Most Americans experience this. However, the Japanese have a powerful method that's been in use for over 100 years to solve this very problem. This method is called Kabo, and it's so effective that even Japan's largest banks recommend it. What's interesting is, while we rely on complicated apps or spreadsheets to track our spending, the Japanese use something much simpler: a notebook. But don't let the simplicity fool you. Research shows that families using the Kabo method save 35% more than those who use modern methods. Why? Because when you handwrite your expenses, you think more carefully before spending. Think about it. When was the last time you felt a strong emotion when swiping your credit card? That's the issue. Modern banking has made money intangible, and when we no longer see it, we spend more easily. The Kabo method brings your money back into the real world, where you can see it, feel it, and most importantly, control it. Let me share something interesting. A recent study surveyed 1,000 Japanese households and found that those who applied the Kabo method almost never had credit card debt. This wasn't because they earned more, but because they spent more consciously. Every expense has to answer 4 simple questions. Can I live without this? Do I already have something similar? Will this truly improve my life? And can I buy this at a cheaper place? Want to try this method? Here's how to start. Grab a simple notebook and divide your expenses into 4 categories: needs, wants, culture, things that make your life better, and unexpected costs. For the next week, write down every expense you make without judgment, just awareness. You'll be shocked at how many unnecessary costs you discover. Those $5 coffees and impulse buys on Amazon really add up. But what makes Kabo truly special isn't just tracking your spending, it's understanding your relationship with money. The Japanese believe that how you spend your money reflects your values and priorities in life. When you begin to see your spending patterns on paper, you'll gain clearer insight into your life choices, and that's when real financial change begins. The next secret is financial minimalism. Have you ever bought something only to find it forgotten and collecting dust after a few months? Now imagine that happening for years. The Japanese have an interesting principle called Dan-sherei, which is changing the way people think about money and possessions. And what's particularly interesting is that, unlike what financial advisors often suggest, this principle is not about saving more, but making smarter choices about what you own. In America, we're constantly bombarded with messages like, buy now, pay later, or indulge yourself, you deserve it. But the Japanese view things completely differently. They understand that real wealth is not what you own, but what you choose not to own. As a result, our homes are packed with unnecessary items, bought with money we don't have to impress people we don't even like. But the Japanese discovered that owning less actually means having more. More money, more freedom, and peace of mind. Here's a shocking statistic. On average, American households have about 300,000 items. Yes, you heard that right. Meanwhile, Japanese families own less than a third of that. But interestingly, despite owning fewer things, Japanese families report having a higher level of financial satisfaction. Why is that? Because they have a simple rule. If an item doesn't bring real value to your life, it's just draining your wallet. Let me share a personal example. I used to buy cheap items thinking I was saving money. But then I learned from my Japanese friends about the cost per use. They taught me that a $100 shirt that lasts 5 years is actually cheaper than buying 5 $30 shirts that only last a few months. This simple shift in mindset helped me save thousands of dollars, and my wardrobe has never looked better. The Japanese approach to minimalism isn't about living like a monk, but being intentional with your money. Before every purchase, they ask 3 questions. Does this really improve my life? Could this money be invested better? And will I still want this after 30 days? If the answer is no to any of those questions, they pass on the item and invest the money instead. Simple, but incredibly powerful. Want to try this method? Start with a 30-day challenge. For the next month, before buying any non-essential item, wait 30 days. Write down what you were planning to buy and check back after that time. You'll be surprised at how many things you thought were must-haves no longer seem that important. With this habit alone, you can save thousands of dollars each year. Money that can be invested and grow instead of being spent on meaningless items. However, saving money is just part of the story. In the next secret, I'll share why Japanese families almost never use credit cards and how this decision protects their wealth better than any investment strategy. You won't believe how simple and powerful the next principle is.
The next one is the Japanese fear of debt. Have you ever noticed how using a credit card doesn't really feel like spending real money? Building on Japan's minimalist lifestyle and financial awareness, I started to reconsider something that seemed so normal: the habit of using credit cards.
While most Americans swipe their cards for everything from a morning coffee to a weekend trip, the Japanese take a completely different path, the path that helps them stay debt-free. And once I understood the reasoning behind that choice, I never saw credit cards the same way again. Let me share a thought-provoking statistic. On average, every American household carries about $7,000 in credit card debt, with interest rates exceeding 20%. In contrast, only 18% of transactions in Japan are made with credit cards. Not because they lack access to credit, but because they understand something many Americans don't. The convenience of the moment can cost you long-term financial freedom. The Japanese have a profound saying, "Debt is a burden heavier than anything you can carry on your back." They view credit card debt as a form of financial imprisonment. Imagine paying 20% interest on your daily expenses. That means for every year you work, you lose nearly 20% of your time just to keep credit card companies alive. Is that convenience really worth it? A Japanese financial advisor once told me, "If you need a credit card to buy something, it means you can't afford it." At first, I thought this was too rigid, but after he showed me the numbers, an $11,000 item with a 20% APR, if only paying the minimum each month, would cost over $13,000. I was truly awakened. The Japanese opt for a simple yet effective method. They use cash or debit cards for most expenses. Because when you physically see money leave your hands, you experience a psychological reaction that digital transactions can't replicate. Studies show that consumers spend 12 to 18% less when using cash instead of credit cards. That means by simply changing the way you pay, you're rewarding yourself with significant savings each month. Want to try? Start with a 30-day cash challenge. Each week, withdraw money according to your budget and use cash for every transaction. You'll be surprised at how much more thoughtfully you approach each spending decision. Of course, you don't need to cut up your credit cards. Just limit their use to true emergencies or large, well-planned purchases that can be paid off immediately. After changing the way I used credit cards and learning to control my spending, I started to realize something much more important. Finance isn't just a personal matter. It's a part of family culture. And if you've ever struggled with debt or are trying to escape the credit card trap, I've got good news for you. You can change everything, starting right within your own family. I used to wonder, why in America do most of us never get taught about money from a young age? Instead, we grow up hearing things like, "Money doesn't grow on trees," or "Study hard to get a good job." But in Japan, parents take a completely different approach, an approach that helps children grow up with financial independence from a very young age. And here's what truly amazed me. In Japan, financial education begins at an astonishingly early age, as early as 5 years old. No need for budgeting apps or complex investment strategies. What they teach children is a simple yet profoundly powerful concept, understanding the true value of money. Unlike American children who often receive allowance without having to earn it, Japanese children learn that money comes only when you create value, through contribution and wise decisions. The result? A recent study revealed that 65% of adults in the U.S. live paycheck to paycheck, while Japanese families boast one of the highest savings rates in the world. What makes this difference? It's rooted in 3 core principles passed down to children: earning smartly, saving consistently, and investing for the long term. It may sound simple, but its impact stretches across generations. Let me share a real-world example. In many Japanese families, young children are given 3 jars, labeled spending, saving, and investing. Whenever the child receives money, whether it's pocket money, a bonus, or for chores, they must divide the money into the 3 jars. The spending jar is for immediate desires, the saving jar for short-term goals, and the investing jar is strictly off-limits. It represents long-term wealth. With just this simple three-jar system, children learn what no school teaches, how to build lifelong financial habits. And if you want to start applying this in your own family, you don't have to wait until tomorrow. You can start today. But here's an important point. Don't just give your children money. Let them earn it through age-appropriate tasks. Then, guide them in each spending decision and ask, do you think this item is worth the effort you put into earning that money? When a child understands that every dollar is the result of effort, the connection between work, money, and value becomes stronger than any theoretical lesson. After experiencing the power of community in building financial habits, I realized something even deeper. The Japanese don't just know how to save, they know how to spend wisely. And this is the secret: smart frugality, or what the Japanese call Mottainai. This isn't about cutting every penny or divvying up all comforts. It's about how they maximize the value of every dollar spent. Once you grasp this mindset, you'll never see money the same way again. Face the truth, no matter how good your income is, money always seems to be insufficient. Why? Because we often spend unconsciously, without discrimination. Meanwhile, Japanese families are masters at stretching the value of every dollar without sacrificing quality of life. I was stunned when I learned that. Every year, the average American household wastes more than $1,500 on unused subscriptions, food that spoils, and impulse buys. In contrast, the Japanese don't just focus on saving, they focus on intentional spending, spending in such a way that every dollar has real value. I clearly remember a lesson from my Japanese mentor. He never asked, "How much does this cost?" Instead, he always asked, "What's the true value of this item?" For example, instead of spending $4 a day on coffee, they might spend $200 on a high-quality coffee machine that lasts 10 years. It sounds simple, but just that decision saves them over $10,000 over a decade, enough to start a retirement account. This reminds me of the philosophy of billionaire Warren Buffett, known for his frugal lifestyle and wise investments. Buffett once said that he only invests in things that provide long-term value, whether it's stocks or a car. But don't get me wrong, the Japanese don't live like ascetic monks. They don't cut back on spending just to endure. They do it to make strategic choices. They don't need 5 ordinary jackets. They only need one really good one, something they can wear for many years and always feel satisfied with. They don't sign up for multiple entertainment platforms. They only keep the ones they truly use. If you want to start applying this, do a value audit of your spending from the past month. Ask yourself 3 simple questions. Does this item truly bring value? Can I get the same value for a lower cost? In a year, will this still be worth it? I tried it, and you know what? I was shocked to see how many of my expenses didn't pass that test. From there, I began redirecting that wasted money into things that really mattered to me, like investing, education, and health. Gradually, not only did I feel more financially free, but I also felt that every dollar I spent had a purpose and meaning. When I started applying the Japanese smart frugality lifestyle, I began to realize a deeper truth. Managing money isn't just about how much you spend, it's about how you control it. That's when I discovered the third secret, the envelope system, or shunubakuro, a method so simple yet powerful enough to help an entire family build lasting wealth. Have you ever ended a month and wondered, where did all my money go? If so, you're not alone. Many Americans find themselves in that position, lost among a slew of complicated spending apps where money seems to disappear with just a few taps. Meanwhile, the Japanese, even high-level executives, remain loyal to an incredibly old-fashioned system. They divide their cash into envelopes, each one designated for a category: housing, food, savings, entertainment.
When an envelope is empty, that means no more spending. It may sound too simple, but therein lies its power. According to a recent study, people using the envelope method save up to 28% more than those using digital apps. Why? Because when you hold actual cash in your hand, you feel it leaving your wallet, and naturally, you'll think twice before each purchase. I used to think I was great at managing my finances. I had spending tracking apps, colorful charts, and weekly notifications. But then a Japanese friend of mine showed me his envelope system. Just 3 months after switching to envelopes, I discovered I was spending over $600 more a month than I realized. That's $7,200 a year quietly vanishing. And then, for the first time in my life, I truly saw the flow of money in my hands. Starting is easy. Take your monthly income and divide it into 6 basic envelopes: housing, food, transportation, savings, entertainment, other expenses. These are just starting figures. You can adjust according to your situation. But there's one unbreakable rule. Do not borrow money from one envelope to cover another. If the entertainment envelope is empty, that's a natural sign that staying in this weekend is a good idea. The real power of this system lies not just in controlling spending, but also in its psychological impact. When you physically see the money leaving the envelope, you automatically become more responsible. No need for enforcement, no apps, no guilt. And furthermore, watching the savings envelope grow thicker each month is motivation that no app can give you.
As soon as I learned to control spending with the envelope method, I realized controlling money is one thing, but making it grow is the ultimate goal. That's when I started exploring the secret in the Japanese financial journey, the art of sustainable investing, a very different approach from the common mindset in the US. Have you ever wondered, why do so many people invest in the stock market, yet so few actually achieve wealth? In the US, people rush to jump on hot trends, tech stocks, cryptocurrency, or other assets that seem to offer quick profits. But the Japanese don't do that. They take a different path, slow and steady investing, not flashy, not risky, but incredibly effective. I once read a statistic that I can't forget. 85% of individual investors in the US lose money by trying to time the market and chase big stocks. Meanwhile, the Japanese choose to invest consistently, steadily in assets that have stood the test of time. They call it investing for stable cash flow, like planting seeds in a garden and watering them regularly rather than hoping to win the lottery. One of the quotes that completely changed my investment mindset came from a Japanese mentor. If you can't explain your investment to a 10-year-old, you shouldn't be touching it. That quote saved me from countless ventures into risky investment games. The Japanese aren't attracted to complex financial products. They focus on things that are easy to understand and sustainable, such as index funds, like the S&P 500, dividend-paying stocks, such as Johnson & Johnson or Procter & Gamble, real estate investment trusts, providing steady income over time. Their strategy revolves around 3 unchanging principles. Long-term investment. Think in decades, not months. Prioritize stable income, rather than chasing short-term gains. Only invest money you are willing to lose. Let me illustrate this with a real-world example. If you invest $500 a month into an index fund with an average return of 8% annually, after 25 years, you could accumulate over $500,000. No need for extraordinary secrets, no market predictions, just patience and consistency. If you want to start investing the Japanese way, begin with what they call the sleep test. Only invest in things that let you sleep soundly at night. The simpler and more understandable the investment, the more reliable it is. Companies like Coca-Cola, McDonald's, with a history of paying dividends for decades are worth considering. You don't need a story to tell at a party. You need a solid financial foundation to live a full life. When I started applying the Japanese sustainable investment approach,
I thought I had unlocked a precious key to wealth. But then I discovered one final element, a secret that encapsulated all the previous principles, one that truly helped me understand. Real wealth isn't what you see with your eyes, it's what you build quietly. The Japanese call this silent wealth, a philosophy that stands in stark contrast to what I was taught in the US. Here, we're often told that to succeed, you must show it. Luxury cars, expensive watches, big houses. But there's a truth that made me think. 80% of millionaires in the US actually drive ordinary cars and live in modest homes. And that's exactly how the rich in Japan choose to live. They don't flaunt, they don't shine. Even CEOs of major corporations, you rarely see them bragging about their personal wealth on social media or driving flashy supercars. Because they understand one thing profoundly. Real wealth doesn't need to be proven. I used to live differently. At the start of my career, I fell into the familiar trap. Fake it till you make it. I rented luxury cars, bought expensive watches just to impress others. But then a Japanese friend of mine, a successful entrepreneur, woke me up. He had millions, yet drove an old Toyota and wore a simple Seiko watch. When I asked why, he just smiled and said, "I don't need to prove anything to anyone. My real assets are in my investments." Try this small thing. In the next 30 days, every time you're about to buy something, ask yourself, do I really need it, or do I just want others to see that I have it? If the answer is the latter, stop. Take that money and invest it. Open a retirement account, build an emergency fund, or invest in a low-cost index fund. You'll be surprised how much that seemingly small amount can grow over time. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Honestly, I truly appreciate every view, share, and comment from you because it motivates me to keep creating meaningful content. If today's story resonated with you, share your thoughts or challenges in the comments below. I read them all, and I'm excited to walk alongside you on your journey of personal and financial growth. And if you found this content helpful, please like, share with friends and family, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any upcoming videos. Every week, I'll bring you practical, profound lessons shared from the heart and real-life experience. You are not alone. Together, we are building a stronger, more resilient future, one that starts with seemingly quiet steps.